Greetings. So um, this is a short PSA service announcement to young adult males and to males that may be defending or look to defend cult leaders. Um, Maybe they may not be thinking initially because of what the cult leader represents for them as a man. That's understandable. We want to defend someone who is quote unquote of our community, who looks like us and who has all of the aesthetics and represents us, or older version of us, or what we so-called aspire to become. So the cult leader definitely represents something for males and young Black men, and it's understandable that we want to defend the image, just like many people want to hold on to defend an idea of a savior or a Christ or a so-called Messiah. But I want to make folks very well aware, in particular men folks, and I'll share some insight as to how the cult leader works with women, is that do know and be very clear, particularly right now as this cult leader looks to exploit men, and he deals with men and women in different ways, appeals to the egos in different ways. This man shares your information. So while you are confiding in this so-called father figure, the cult leader is sharing your personal information. For example, the cult leader is sharing information about your infidelity in your private relationships, his perspective of your financial situation, his perspective of your failures, of your insecurities. In particular, he's sharing information about if you're impotent or not. This is private information. One of many red flags that went up was, why would this cult leader or father figure be revealing very private information from other folks that are looking to come to him for counsel in private? So that's one of the red flags. See, sometimes we're looking for so much esoteric or flighty cosmic stuff that we may not be privy to some of the basic information or subtleties, but not so subtle. But a major distinction for men to know is that the cult leader is going to use your male insecurities. He's going to talk about your infidelity, your impotence or your lack of confidence in your sexual prowess, the problems in your relationship. All of your information will be shared with his team. All of your information will be shared with his team, and they'll go around, he'll ask for feedback from his mates, maybe now some of the younger men that have been indoctrinated with anchor babies, some of the locals that have been married in the couple. It's only 2 or 3 of them. But your personal information, just so you know, is shared with other people as a testimony, so that they can be swayed by basically showing how pathetic your situation is. Because why would a father figure share important information, whether it's your health information, if you're impotent, your situation with your children? So know this, male folks who are looking to confide in these cult leaders. When you're sharing all of your private information and thinking that this is a father figure, you are being audited as well. It's not just the women. It's not just the women. This is something that has been witnessed up close and personal. So your information around the problems that you're having with your wife or your children's mothers or mother and mothers, you're thinking about leaving your mates, and if you think about the possibility of finding a brighter horizon inside of the cult, all of this information is shared with the cult member's immediate family, his cronies are the ones right up underneath them. And you have to question why. Well, most of you are not aware that your information will be shared. And you have to question, why is your information shared like that? What is the motive? I know that was a very big red flag. Your sexual performance. If you share that information, hints and different bits and drops of information are shared. Also to other people, again, that are coming into the cult, young men and women or prospective initiates and other people, your private information is shared at any given time to use as leverage of credibility for other people that are being manipulated into the cult. Also, do understand in terms of one of the things a cult leader will do is manipulate you again with information. So, if you're looking for someone to make you feel more comfortable with passing on irresponsibility or really giving you a listen to air, and I can understand why you're not taking care of your children, or whatever justifications for behavior that you don't think is on the up and up, there'll definitely be an ear for that. You'll have a high five for that. But that information is going to be held and will be leveraged against you. So there's a dance that's being done psychologically so that you feel indebted because this man is giving you some kind of psychological comfort. Folks may not want to hear this, but this is what has been observed. So you'll get a pass for your irresponsibility. Either you can pay money, or your allegiance to the cult leader will lend credibility to the cult leader, or whatever your talents are. If you have a PhD, or if you've held a certain kind of position, or if you've had any kind of wealth, your family has wealth, or if your family has certain kinds of position, all of these things you may not realize it, or what are being traded off as you put your confidence into the cult leader. Again, if you're not thinking like a predator or manipulator, these are things that may not even, occur to people. So you will get a pass for irresponsibilities. You may not be thinking it's a pass, but basically this person is going to make you feel better about yourself. They're going to make you feel good, but psychologically you will feel indebted to them. And one of the main techniques of a cult leader is to get you to feel that you owe them your life. You owe them, as it was said to my sister, your femininity. You owe them your health. This man said to me, all I want is your soul. Who says something like that? That sounded so absolutely crazy. I couldn't even believe that this person was saying this to me. But yes, that's one of the things that was said to me. But, I'm on to the men folks right now to just point out some key things. There'll be, if you want justifications for your behavior, and the context will be flipped all the time whenever it's convenient. In one moment, for example, they'll be making you feel okay and soothe, your troubled mind with justifications for your behavior and understanding. And the next moment, when you're in another position and you furthered along in your allegiance, the same information is twisted on you to guilt you into allegiance, to the cult leader. Do understand that when you're not around amongst the other people that are right underneath, the ones that are first in line, if you will, with the cult leader or his cronies, that's for lack of a better term, or the assistants of the cult leader among the men folks, and amongst the community members, you will be talked about like trash. And your main value to the cult leader will be your talents, the credibility that you lend. For example, in Central America, if you have a skill such as basketball, and the cult leader does not have it in here, even though images are painted online, the cult leader, women are used in one kind of way to lend credibility, and the men will be used so that he can have credibility and entrance into certain circles because the person knows basketball. But if it wasn't for the person with the talent, this person would have no in. So again, peep how people are being used to gain entrance into other circles for new recruits. For recruits, for money, and also for credibility, which is not to be underestimated. So do understand, women are used to give credibility to the cult leader in one way, and then the next skill, as a man, the men are used to give credibility in another way. So if you have a skill like basketball, you'll be used to give credibility. If you're a person that is in politics, you can shake a hand and take a picture. You'll be used to demonstrate to the community at large that this person must be somebody of credibility. So that is one of the cult leaders' main tactics, is to be able to move about under the radar and just be given to the stamp of approval and not to bring attention to themselves. So if they are seen with people who are of a community, who speak the language, who were born in the community, meanwhile, these people don't know the cult leader on an intimate basis. He basically he symbolizes a father figure, that they quote unquote never had, or somebody that appeases their ego or that eases their guilt. These are some of the patterns that are observed with the cult leader. But they're basically going to take your cash, use your credibility, and use your skills to gain entrance into certain circles and to be able to move around without any attention being drawn to them. So the people in the area will have questions, but we're easily distracted. Keep in mind that most people have busy lifestyles and have lots of things to attend to in terms of work and other things. So it's very easy to lose a focus, even though your mind may question what's going on here. You can be easily distracted by entertainment, handshakes, basketball, leisure, compliments. These are things that will distract people. And before you know, these folks have slid right into a community setting, and people will just assume they belong here. Do understand that when you're dealing with these cult leaders, you most likely are a person that's passing through. Maybe you could have bought a plate of food. Maybe somebody of a friend knows somebody that's in there, so they start to use your name and to name drop, again, which is a technique that many manipulators use. For example, oh, I went to that school too. Oh, what part of that area you from? I know that area too. And all of a sudden, they use that to slide into a certain kind of position or to make people more comfortable and not to ask questions. This is all basic psychology, but there are things that many of us we don't think of, because if you're not thinking like a predator or manipulator, it's very easy for these things to fly right over our head. So when you're passing through as a visitor, just like if you're visiting the tropics or a new area and you're a visitor, it is different from living in the environment. If you're going over to your friend's house for a quick visit and everybody stuffs the garbage underneath the bed or pushes everything in the bathroom, that's different from you actually living there. So quite often, the men folks who are vouching for these cult leaders and manipulators, you don't really know these people and don't live with them, and they represent something which is what psychologically many men are looking to defend. So it's really something for people to put their preferences aside and to really question, and what is the priority? Is there any value of protecting children and women and young people so that they're not manipulated, and also that people are not financially scammed? Unfortunately, what becomes the bigger, or what has been demonstrated is the bigger payoff for people emotionally and psychologically, is to have a father figure or a savior or a messiah, so-called, as he called himself, an earth soul, a messiah, that assuages or that appeases people's guilt and feels a psychological need for something that they feel or that is missing in a father figure. So I'm just pointing these things out as some distinctions for men folk to consider, because it appears that many folks would think it's just easier for women to be manipulated, and that men and young males cannot be manipulated. And I've watched men, not a lot, but older men are manipulated too. It's the same thing psychologically that's happening, although folks that are older may have had some more experience. But when somebody starts tapping into your emotions and your insecurities, that's what's very, very easy to get had. So again, people that are passing through and passersby are not the same. It's not the same thing as living with the people that you are vouching for. So I emphasize that you do not know these people online who you are vouching for, and because you play basketball with them. Again, you could play basketball with somebody. That does not mean that they are not a criminal or a scam artist. One of the techniques that they use is a lot of ego stroking. If that's complimenting you on your body, on how many women like you, or how much your children look like you, these things may seem so simple, but these are ways that they enter into the male's mind. If you have insecurities about having children in the future, or if you'll be able to hold up to certain standards as a man or whatever, these are all insecurities that will be used against you or leveraged against you. Something to consider, and I'm not going to make this very long. If you are vouching for these cult leaders, something to keep in mind. When you are vouching for them and you are speaking for them, be very, very clear that when they are held criminally, financially, and legally responsible, if you're vouching for them, when these things are brought to light, then you will also be affiliated with that behavior. You will be also, you have the potential to be held responsible legally, financially, in your community for bringing them in. Sometimes it may be in ignorance that you're giving a pass and you're introducing. I can definitely say that as a woman, you may have the best intentions, but legally and financially, you will also be held liable and accountable for bringing these people in. So it's very important, folks that are fathers or looking to be fathers, or young men, and folks, I don't know if any of the parents of the cult members will see, or if they're considering this, because again, the cult member will get to the parents through their children, the heartstrings of their the children. And again, I do comprehend that parents' main concern is that their children are okay. But do understand, when your young people are inside of a cult, and I say this for the young people that live locally, and should their parents get to see this, do understand that when the cult leader is held legally and financially and criminally responsible, once he gets his mates and once he gets the other young men and other people involved, then they are also at a legal age, they will also be held criminally, financially, and legally responsible. So these are some things to think about, whatever part of the world that you're in. When you start vouching for people, make sure you're willing, if you're going to vouch for people and their character that you have not lived with because you like what they represent, do know that aside from your feelings, you don't know what these people are capable of, their full history. Most likely, out of being polite, many people will not ask pertinent or uncomfortable questions, or many people are many people are easily appeased with a rhetorical answer, which is not an answer at all. So quite often, I share about the experience as a woman and as a mother, but just in my simple observation, as a mother and as a woman and as someone that actually lived inside of this particular cult, I'm simply sharing the insight because I think it's very valuable for men to know you can and will be manipulated. Some people just want to go for the excitement of the challenge, or they have curiosity, and even after certain warnings will think, well, I can take them. And, it's brainwashing, psychological manipulation is not a joke. It happens every day in all different levels of society. And one of the ways that it comes to us is in forms that we like and that we have preferences for, or because our children are in a place, or the person may be wearing a religious outfit, or have a religious background, or have an educational background. These things give credibility, and when folks seemingly have superficial credibility, we overlook their character and what these human beings have the capacity to do as human beings, especially when you don't know these people. So that's just a short, insight for men, young adults, and people that are vouching for people and vouching for these cult leaders and manipulators because of what they represent to them. Just putting a little nugget in your ear and something for you to consider.